Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Out Up My League. I'm Nick Diaz. So the team that beat LSU in the tournament, Michigan, they lost last night to UCLA in the Elite Eight. It was a huge upset, and now UCLA is going to the Final Four. And I was thinking, while watching the game, Will Wade can learn something from this. So people questioned whether or not Mick Cronin, the UCLA basketball coach, whether or not he was a good fit for UCLA when they hired him. And they were basically saying, well, he's from the Midwest and now he's coming to Hollywood. He likes to play defense and preaches toughness and rebounding. Ew, that's not Hollywood. And when he was hired, I was actually defending the hire. I was defending Mick Cronin because I was like, hey, you know the greatest coach in the history of UCLA basketball? John Wooden. He won 10 national titles. He was from the Midwest. He preached defense, preached toughness, accountability, old school philosophy, rebounding. And he wasn't Hollywood. And wouldn't you know it, the reason why UCLA won last night and is going to the Final Four, they played defense, rebounding, and toughness. I mean, they won 51-49. I mean, that just preaches all of that. But defense and toughness and accountability are not something that Will Wade needs to learn, because Will Wade has been preaching that since he got to LSU. And the problem has been not so much Will Wade. The problem is that the last few years, the players that Will Wade has recruited are a little too flashy, and they mostly care about scoring. Nick, are you throwing players under the bus? Yep, because not all players are created equal, meaning not all players play the same or have the same mindset. Look at Will Wade's teams at Chattanooga and VCU. They were tough, defensive-minded guys, rebounding, the kind of the teams that you saw from UCLA last night. A great coach can only do so much with the type of players he has. You can recruit, a flashy guy who likes to score a lot, like Trendon Watford or Cam Thomas, and they may be great at that. But, if they're not willing to get their hands dirty, sure, you can instill some more toughness into them, but that doesn't make them a tough old school player. That doesn't mean they're going to do all of those other things the way you want them to, no matter how good of a coach you are. So if you look at the teams in the Final Four, all of those programs, they have players that we call program players, meaning they stay 3 or 4 years. Only Gonzaga has one and-done player on a team full of seniors and juniors who are not as highly recruited. So what does this all mean? Speaking of the NBA, Will Wade said Tuesday he believes all 4 guys, Smart, Days, Cam Thomas, and Watford, they're all leaving for the NBA this year, and they're probably not coming back. Not official, but they're probably not coming back. Now, I'm not here to argue whether or not Smart or Days should leave. That's not the point. But Will Wade said this, how he's going to replace these guys, because now he's got 2 or 3 extra scholarships available. His focus will primarily be on the transfer portal to replace these players. And if you look at the players that they're reportedly interested in, it's the leading scorer from UMass. He's a center. The leading scorer from Pitt. The leading scorer and point guard from Akron. And a few other players. But most of those guys are not as highly recruited AAU-style players who don't like to play defense, don't pass the ball, don't share the ball, don't rebound, don't dive to the floor. Guys who are willing to get their hands dirty. These guys are willing to get their hands dirty a little bit more. That's not to say you shouldn't recruit a guy like Cam Thomas, but if you got a team of guys who are not interested in college basketball that much, and that have been told from the time they were 10 years old that they're God's gift to basketball, why do I need to pass, play defense, rebound? If you have a whole team of that, then that's the team you're going to have. It may be a very good team, but it won't be a tough team that can win you a championship. And what most people don't realize is that UCLA, before the season started, lost 3 players who were considered one-and-done first-round picks who decided to either sit out the season or go to the NBA G League, which is their minor leagues, straight out of high school. And Mick Cronin, the UCLA head coach, he had to replace them with transfers and guys who had been humbled.
The reason teams do things like defend, really execute their plays, is because they have humility. You have humility. I've talked about it before. I've talked about it over the holiday break. We need to get some humility. I told them it's not, our fate isn't going to change until we get some humility, to where cool does not win. You got to be willing to do the uncomfortable things that go into winning. If all you're worried about is getting 12 points, regardless of the outcome for our team, it's going to continue.
Again, I'll reiterate this. I'm not saying you can't recruit one-and-done players like a Cam Thomas. I'm not saying don't do that. What I am saying is I don't really care how many one-and-done players you get, because that's not winning championships. This isn't like football where you can sell a recruit, here's how many guys we have in the NFL, or here's how many guys we have in the NBA. If you do that in college basketball, honestly, you're probably not winning as much as you should, because college basketball is a different sport. And if, for me, I don't really care how many first-round picks you have. It's all about championships. This is what Kentucky's going through with John Calipari. Well, look at all of our first-round picks. Yeah, how many championships did they win for you? How many championships did they win for you? So recruit good players, but find players who are willing to stay. Find players who are willing to get their hands dirty. Players that were looked over. Players that had to maybe work a little harder. Players that have been humbled. And that's a recruiting strategy that I think Will Wade will use going forward. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook in the description link below.